Welcome to the D-Shift podcast, where we provide inspiration, motivation, and education to help you transition from the challenges of divorce to discover the freedom and ability to live life on your own terms. Are you ready? Let's get this shift started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the D-Shift podcast, where we're going to talk all about how to find support and how to deal with some of that isolation stuff that tends to come in whenever we're going through the divorce process. So I have an amazing guest with me, Stephanie McPhail. Stephanie is a love and life success coach. She's co-founder of the largest divorce support network in the United States. Her background is that she is a certified crisis counselor and coach with a double master's in health and education. I also have a master's in education. I didn't know that about you, Stephanie. So there you go. And she has a bachelor's in psychology, and she's able to bring all those disciplines together to create this amazing resource for people going through divorce. So Stephanie, welcome to the D-Shift.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, I'm really excited because I think that the topic of feeling isolated when you're going through divorce is something that almost everybody deals with, because it's quite often not something you want to talk to your friends or your family or your coworkers about. Our natural tendency is just keep real quiet about it. And unfortunately, that's not always helpful. So let's talk though about what got you into this area, because you've got such a wide and diverse background. What got you into this area?
So I used to be really good at choosing really shitty partners and trying to make it work. So I don't know if that resonates for anybody who's listening.
There you go.
But I was a teacher for 18 years, and I was the go-to. I was moving up in my world. They wanted me to be administration, like all these great things were happening, but I was living this double life where at home I was dealing with an abusive husband, and at work I was the shining star doing great and all this wonderful stuff. And I was really embarrassed. I had this shame that I carried around with me because I was afraid that if anybody knew or found out, that they wouldn't look up to me anymore, that I would lose who I was in the eyes of my coworkers and friends and family and everything else. So, and I think that a lot of people feel that way. And so when I started to share my story of what I had experienced, I realized that there was a lot of other professional women who were in these types of toxic relationships where I was the main breadwinner. I was well educated. I was making great money. I was the homeowner. I had all of the things that you'd think would check off that I should have been doing really well, but I kept making the same mistakes in relationships. So once I started to heal and I worked on myself and I said, I can't do this by myself. I know I need help. That's where the things started to shift. And that's where I said, I need to shout this from the mountaintops and let as many people as I possibly can know that they can create something different, but they have to stop thinking that they need to do it on their own.
Yes. And so as one of those, I'm going to just say type A personality people who is like, I've got this. Like, there's no way I'm going to talk to anybody about this. There's no way I need to involve anybody. And I certainly don't want my personal meltdown showing up in my professional life. So I completely resonate with that. And I think you're right. I think there's a lot more women, and I think men too, quite frankly, that are so worried about being judged by other people if they come out and talk about the fact that whether it's emotional, financial, physical, emotional, whatever kind of abuse they're dealing with, or even, the idea of coercive control now is much more common. There still is, though, that some people in society who are like, well, it's not that bad. Look at her. She's doing just fine, so there can't be a problem. What do you think about that? Has that changed in your mind, or is it still there, or what's going on?
Oh, I think it's still there. And for me, I think that I was also around other people that were in unhealthy relationships. So I would look at what they were dealing with and I'd be like, well, I think mine's better than theirs, at least from what I'm seeing. Even though, there was physical abuse along with emotional abuse going on, and at times there was sexual abuse. But, I got so used to being in that survival mode and then comparing myself to what these other people were like, I'm better than them. I'm better off than what they are. And so, it was, I always have this vision of At times I had this feeling like I was on fire and drowning at the same time, but I was still like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't need anybody's help. Don't anyone look at me. You guys are the ones that are all messed up, and I'm totally cool. Don't worry about me. And I see that a lot
Yeah.
is that we don't want to bother anybody. We don't want to let anyone know deep inside we are scared. We
Yeah.
don't know what to do. We are embarrassed to let people know that, hey, I chose this person who's terrible to me. And I have to have this pretend world where I'm like, everything's okay at home because I seem like everything is okay. What's going to happen? Who will I be if I take that mask off and show them who I really am? Will they still like me? Will they still respect me? Will I still be able to move up in the world of my business, my organization? All of those things I think come to question. And I see it with my professional women. I mean, the women that I work with, and I do work with men too. In fact, I have some great male clients right now. But the women I work with, they're lawyers, they're doctors, they're
Yeah.
teachers, they have degrees, they have the intelligence. So it's nothing to do with your intelligence. If you're sitting here nodding your head right now, it's not your intelligence. It's that whatever we learned growing up and or past experiences and how we feel about ourselves really shape what we allow in our relationships. And it's always that example of that frog in the boiling water. They test it out, they see like, okay, she's not going to be accepting of this. So I'm going to start off really slowly. So all of a sudden you're boiling alive and you didn't even see yourself this happening. I mean, when I went and spoke with a domestic violence victims support, and I was telling them some of the things that were going on, the look of fear, like their jaw like just fell down, was like, wait, what are you dealing with? What's going on? And there was that part of me that had compartmentalized because I didn't want to, this can't be happening to me. That
Right.
happens to those other people, but it's not me. And once we start accepting, hey, this is happening to me. Yes, I don't have to compare myself to what my pain is compared to somebody else's. This is still not healthy and I cannot continue this way and I need support in doing it. But for a lot of us, it's hard to do it because we want to research. We want to figure it out. We don't want to bother other people with helping us.
Well, and I think you've touched on a couple of really important points. I was a domestic violence client advocate for almost 6 years, so I was on the hearing side of the story. And I've also had some experience with not dating the right people. Let's face it. I think most of us at some point in time have had that. And I do think that sometimes, people tend to see that these toxic people choose somebody who's a partner who's very weak, who has no sense of who they are, who has this low sense of self-esteem. And then that kind of forms this unholy unity, right? The codependent and the toxic person. But there is also the high achieving person who becomes the target because the abuser knows to use that against you because they subtly keep undermining your confidence, your ability to feel that you have the capacity to do this. And I think the thing is, they also play your sense of professionalism against you. I know that in my divorce, there was a particular incident where information was relayed to the school district in an anonymous fax that I know was not anonymous. I know exactly who it came from. And so did the school district, because thankfully I had talked to them and told them what was going on and that there might be something coming. And thank to my lawyer who said, do that. Don't keep it secret. Let somebody know. But you're right. There's lots of games that people play during this time that traps you. The other thing, and I want to touch base with you about this because I want your opinion on it. I'm curious. What about this idea of creating that perfect life, and how does social media play into that for women that are, or men that are in those situations?
I mean, it's huge. I think it's a huge addition to what we've already been dealing with. I mean, for me growing up, I just remember my mom would say all the time, "What will people think?" And I remember as a kid being like, Mom, who cares what people think? It's not a big deal. But that started to become more my inner voice. And I think that now, especially that social media is so much more in people's faces. And I see it with clients where they say, this happened actually just for Mother's Day, one of my clients was like, I had just seen all these beautiful posts from husbands talking so wonderfully about their wives. And then I have my ex that's giving me a hard time about taking me out to lunch, or that they have no plans for us, or they're starting a fight, or whatever it is. So then they're getting more upset and more frustrated. And then, of course, the question is, what's really, are these people really having all these wonderful things? Or are they just showing the highlight reel? And I have young kids. I love them. They're amazing, but it's not super easy all the time. You're like, I loved hanging out with you, but it was also really hard. It was also difficult, but you don't see that on social media. You don't get to
Right.
see the big picture of it. So I think that it's become a huge problem. It's like what they used to do well, they still do it with you, like, changing all what your facial structure looks like and all that kind of stuff. You can have all the different, what are they called? When you like,
Filters.
you take, yeah, the
Yeah.
filters, that's the word. So look at it. I'm showing my age here. Show all the filters, but like, oh, look, I look like I'm 20 now. I have no wrinkles. And so people look at that, they're like, oh my gosh, they have no wrinkles. But yeah, they are using all these filters where they don't have. So, and that's happening throughout social media. And again, it's really affecting us, I think, at a subconscious level where we can intellectually say, I see it. I know what's really going on. I'm sure there's some, their life is different than what it is. But if it's all you see and as you're scrolling through, does start to be this feeling of I'm not enough because I can't achieve what those other people are achieving.
Yeah, and that's the first thing. I mean, I know with my clients, anyhow, the first thing I say is stay off social media, don't post anything, definitely nothing negative about the ex if you're going through a divorce. But even like on special days, like any kind of holiday or Mother's Day or Father's Day or whatever it might be, just stay off. Just give yourself a 48-hour social media detox or
Well,
something.
and don't go stalking their profiles.
Yes.
People, listen to this part. It's really, really important because when I have so many clients who are like, well, I have a friend that's still friends with them on social media, so I went on their profile and I looked to see what they were doing, and they spent the day with their new girlfriend. Stop doing that to yourself. It doesn't help you to heal. Focusing on them doesn't help you to heal. So
Yeah.
the sooner that you focus on you, what you're doing, your reactions, your communication, rebuilding up who you are, the sooner you're going to be able to move forward. But the longer that you hold on and focus on what could have been, what should have been, how they are now, you're keeping yourself from that new you that you could be creating.
So I love that. And maybe that's something we can talk a little bit about is how do you see, or what are the common mistakes that you see people make? Because you like your organization, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. I want to make sure we spend some time talking about your divorce group, your divorce network. But one of the things that I see are these little mistakes that people make during and after the divorce. And I'm just going to throw out the first one, and then I'm going to let you riff on that and go where you want to go. But the biggest one I see is thinking that I just need to put my head down, get through this divorce, and then I'll start working on myself and my healing after the divorce when I have time to just lounge around on the couch and do nothing. I think that's a huge myth. I think you need to start right now because you're going to have to make a whole bunch of decisions that are going to have long-term impacts. And if you're not in a good headspace and heart space and mind space, you're going to make the wrong decisions, or at least you have a higher probability of making bad decisions.
100%. One of the worst mistakes people make is they go right to an attorney. And so, what I say, so my specialty is really helping people break those trauma bonds. So they know they need to end that relationship, but they just can't get themselves to do it. That's really where I step in. So even starting off right there, a therapist, someone like me, having someone from the very beginning, then having those support systems throughout, is actually going to end up costing you less money in the long run, even if you end up getting an attorney and not a mediator. But it'll cost you less money if you have a divorce coach, if you have someone who specializes in helping you through, because that way we're not venting to our attorney. Our
Yeah.
attorney's not trained in this. They care about the law. So they'll listen to you. Most of them will. In fact, some attorneys don't want to talk to coaches because they're like, oh no, I like listening to their stuff. You do because it's $600 an hour to
Yes.
listen to them vent, and they can't help you. So, you want to make sure that you have those trained people. So you start off and you have that all the way through. And I will say too, is that the second part of my favorite part, to be really honest, is that rebuilding after. Most of us have the mistake of thinking, I'm divorced. don't have to worry about them ever again. Things is going to be smooth sailing. It's going to be easy. I'm just going to never do that again. And those are some famous last words of you doing it again,
Yeah.
because we do what we know. And so if we don't have outside perspective to help us rebuild and even rebrand ourselves, are you going to be the one who does everything and puts your life on the back burner? Are you going to find someone who's at your level, who you're best friends with? What do you want for your life? And really being able to answer those questions with the right support is going to help you through. But most of the time, people think that once their divorce is over, it's just freedom and they don't have to deal with it. And from my personal experience, that's where the real work begins. So you get, it's all work in between. I mean, this is a marathon. So it's all work. I'm not saying it's not, but then you get done with it and you're like, okay, now's the part where I get to really figure out who I am and how I want this next chapter of my life to be. And if you do it right, you're not going to fall back into the same patterns that you had with other relationships. If there are still parts to learn, not even mistakes, but there's still lessons to be learned, you're going to show some of the patterns to keep popping up that you did see in other relationships as well.
Yes. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because that idea of going to an attorney first is really, 30 years ago when I got my divorce, that was all there was. There was an attorney. And if you were a rich person, you talked to a tax accountant, maybe, but I think a lot of really good attorneys, and there are many, many, many good attorneys out there, they are really clear now that I am here to represent you in the legal aspects of divorce. And the legal aspects of divorce are some of the simplest, because they're division of assets, division of liabilities, and co-parenting plans. That's it. That's all it is. It's a business.
They don't care if your ex is a narcissist, they're bipolar, or they don't care about any of those things. It's really just about dividing because it's you're breaking up a company is basically what it is.
It is.
So you're dividing the assets.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I got out of mediation with family and divorce issues, and I got into the coaching, because as a mediator, you're really there as a neutral person to help them deal with the business of splitting up their assets, liabilities, and their co-parenting plan. And I saw so many hurt people sitting in there. They couldn't make decisions because they hadn't dealt with the emotional issues. And when you're still, if you're in revenge mode, or you're in anger mode, or if you're in just complete overwhelm, you cannot make decisions. And they stick you in a mediation room and say, now make decisions on the most important things in your life in 4 hours or in 6 hours or whatever. It's craziness, absolute craziness.
Well, and like you said, because we're not thinking clearly. I mean, there were moments where it just felt like, like the Peanuts where the parents would talk. That's literally what I would feel sometimes. Like, what did they just say? I don't even know what they just said. And we feel that way. That's part of the noise that happens from that overwhelm of everything that we're going through. We didn't get married to get a divorce. None of us did.
Yes.
So there's so many different, there's grief and there's loss and there's so many different feelings, there's anger. I mean, all the different emotions that come up. And so to have someone sitting with you that can maybe reword it or remind you, in the long run, fighting over an extra $100 a month for spousal support, is that going to be worth spending another $50,000 with an attorney? But when you're pissed, you're like, yes, it will. Until someone breaks it down and says, okay, but this is what actually this is going to cost you per month to do that. And so, and it's not anything saying about anyone who gets into that space. We do. A lot of us do. And so to have that impartial party to just keep us in check, to keep us focused on the direction that's going to be the best for us, and remind us the things that we kind of forget because there's too much information coming at us at once.
Right. And you're so right, because as a divorce coach, I help, and I know you do too, help your clients explore all the options, but ultimately it's their call. If they want to spend the $50,000, I mean, I don't own their decisions. It is what it is, and they can choose to do it or not do it. But I think sometimes just having that kind of moment to just reflect and take a little reality check on things is really important. So Stephanie, we've talked a little bit, and we're almost out of time. I can't believe how fast these things go. I want to spend some time, though, talking about your divorce support network. Can you talk a little bit about that and tell us what it is and the advantages and what kind of services it offers for people going through divorce.
Sure. So I am so excited about this. I went through my divorce in 2012. So it's been a few years. But since I got a divorce, I remember thinking to myself after my depression, after all the things that were going on, wow, the way I got through this was with community. It was about changing who I spent time with. It was about getting the right professionals. And so when I first started my business, I had that vision of doing it. I didn't clearly have it, so I didn't really know what exactly how to do it. So I created my coaching business and kind of moved on. And then I realized like this, it kept calling, like I need to figure this out. I need to be able to put all this together. So I started working with a business person who's been years in business. And he said, well, let's make it happen. And he had just recently been through divorce. So he got really excited. The idea is that when you are in the beginning stages of divorce, and you could be literally at any stage, like we said before, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you're not thinking clearly. Most of you have never been through a divorce before. You don't know what to expect. You don't actually know what you need. You know what people have told you you need, but you don't really know what you need. So the idea, and I'll add to this too, there's a lot of people out there on the internet, and it's hard to decipher who actually knows what they're doing. Who is the right fit for me? What do I actually need? So all of those different kinds of questions come up. So the idea with Divorce Support Network is to bring you in and say, okay, you're at the beginning stages of divorce. We recommend speaking to a certified divorce coach, a CDFA, which is for the financial, and speaking with a mediator, maybe before speaking with an attorney. That way, we're trying to help you save money, make this go as efficiently as you can. Now, if you need more than that, well, we also have vetted therapists that we could send you to. So we have all these different people. Now, some of you, like those are kind of the base, but as you start going, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to have to sell my house. I really don't want to, but I know that I have to because I can't afford to pay for all this on my own. We have real estate agents that can actually help you sell your house. We got mortgage brokers. We have someone that can come in and help you clean your house or take care of mom or fix that light bulb. Like all those different things that to just take all that, again, that energy of trying to figure it out. The amount of clients that I have that are like, I've never taken my car to the mechanic. My
Yeah.
husband always did that. I'm scared they're going to try to screw me out of money. So what do I do? Well, what if you just had a mechanic that was already vetted by us that we know is going to be honest, that you can go there and feel safe and feel comfortable. So again, it's just being given all these different things. So throughout the process and even after, where you're like, hey, I'm divorced finally, Stephanie, this is what Stephanie was talking about. I think that I'm free, but ooh, there's a lot of feelings that are coming up right now. Okay, well, let's send you to me. Like that's where I help. I'm like the tail ends of divorce. I like, go to Marty for the divorce process, but I'm the tail ends. So that rebuilding, you come work with me. Some of you are like, okay, well, I'm ready to start dating. Okay, cool. We have a divorce coach that will help you through the dating aspect of, post-divorce. So all those different things that we don't know, we are able to really kind of hand it to you with a bow so that it takes all of the need to research out and you can just do what you need to do to heal and focus on yourself instead of spending so much time researching.
I love this. And I think that you brought up such an important point, Stephanie. Vetting professionals is a very tough thing. And I'm just going to throw this out there. And I hope I'm probably going to piss at least half the people off on the internet. But here it is. There's no coach. I don't think there's any coach that is going to be, or very few coaches. Let me just word it that way. Very few coaches that could walk you from the contemplating part of divorce all the way through the process to the decree, and then post life, reestablishing yourself, and then getting into a divorce relationship, or I mean, a relationship after divorce. So if you're talking to a coach who calls himself a divorce coach, who says, "I can take you from where you are today to where you want to be 10 years from now, and help you set up your own business and do everything else," that is probably not the right professional, because a good coach, I believe, sticks in their lane and doesn't get caught up into, I can do all services for all people, which is unfortunately something that does happen. So I love that you offer all these different facets of services to really hone in on what people are needing at specific points in the process.
Well, and I think it's really important too, is just like a therapist with your coach, you have to have that connection with them. So when you join the network and you're in that member portal, you get to go and check out the different, you can do your little stalking, you can go find them and say, oh, I kind of like Marty, but I'm not sure about her. Let me read all about her, or let me watch a video that she shared in the group so I get to know her a little bit more. So all of those things that kind of get to you, again, that comfort level. I might not be the right fit for you because you don't like how I say something, or I'm too direct or whatever. And I'm totally fine with that because, we're not meant to be everything for everybody. But I think it's really important to find those people that you connect with. When I was going through my divorce, I went through, I don't know, 8 different therapists. By the time I finally found one, I was like, oh, she gets it.
Yeah.
Okay. If I just thought it was something wrong with me, it was just the wrong therapist that I had or the wrong coaches that I had. So really important to find the right person for you, and exactly what Marty said, and where you're at in your process.
Yeah, and so I'm all in for organizations that offer this, and that's why I wanted to have Stephanie on the podcast, because I think it's so important to have the resources. Because you're right, I'm not the divorce coach for everybody. Trust me, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I have a cup. I have to tell you this that I bought. It says, "I don't want to be everybody's cup of tea. I just want to be somebody's shot of tequila," and I just love that cup. And I
Yes.
it makes me happy every time I see it. Stephanie, I'm sorry, that was kind of really off track, but I
love it. I love that.
I just want to wrap this up. What words of wisdom would you have for somebody that's been listening to this podcast and is thinking, I want to make sure I remember that today?
No matter what you've experienced, no matter how long you've experienced it is possible for you to create something different for yourself. You just have to decide to take action on it. Stop thinking about it, stop talking about it, and do it. It'll hurt for a little while, but that far outweighs the pain of not taking action on what your soul is telling you.
Love that. What a positive way to end this up. Now, Stephanie, if people want to find out more about Divorce Support Network or yourself, how do they get to wherever they need to go?
So definitely you can go over to divorcesupportnetwork.com. That's going to give you all the information of what we just talked about. So you can go check that out. There is the professional portal and there's the member portal. So you can look at both if you feel like it. And then you can always send me an email directly to me, which would be Stephanie and this is going to be a little bit different, but beinglovedshouldn'thurt.com. And you can send me an email there. You can also send me a text message, which for some people might appreciate that. 631-317-4027. Send me a text message and I can send you in whatever direction and then introduce you to whoever you need.
Wonderful. And I will make sure all that information gets in the show notes. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here and sharing all this great information and also sharing about your network and all it offers. I know it's going to be a great resource for our listeners. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you for listening in to this episode of The D Shift. I know you're busy and I appreciate your time. And don't forget to tune in to our next episode next week. Thanks for listening and supporting the D Shift podcast. If you would like to attend live trainings by our amazing guests and have a chance to ask questions and get answers from our experts, join the D Shift crew. For more details and to sign up, head on over to www.divorcecoachforwomen and click on the podcast page.